Thanks for being on time. We have the first plenary presentation this morning. My name is Luna from UNICEF Office of Innovation. I'm here with my colleague Shenshen to present the resources that we have to guide evidence-based scaling of innovations. Really excited to be here. All right, so let's start with a question. So think about any brilliant idea you've had before that you wanted to try, or any pilot that you've been involved in, right? So think of that in your mind. And how many of you have experienced your idea never got materialized, or your pilot project that never got scaled to another country, program, region? Can you just raise your hand if you have experienced this? So this is what we call the valley of death, right? A lot of brilliant, inclusive solutions and ideas, they just stall and die at the pilot stage. Why? Not always because of a lack of funding, but we think it's because we're lacking a common, consistent, and systemic way to guide scaling. So this valley of death, we believe, is really blocking us from fully leveraging the power of innovation that innovation has for inclusive society that we are here to discuss this week, right? So we must really go beyond this good idea, and we must find a way to scale what actually works and what matters. So to solve this, in UNICEF, we've developed what we call the 5D innovation framework, because we believe that we need a common, transparent language to guide scaling again. So the 5D innovation framework looks at 5 interconnected dimensions: innovation, business model, impact, scalability, and risk. So there are 5 dimensions and 18 subdimensions, right? So these are the questions that your organization, your investors, your private sector partner must be asking, or maybe asking already, right, to decide their investment decisions or their portfolio decisions. So these 5 interconnected dimensions forces us to go beyond just the numbers and really looking at the linkages holistically, right? So starting with innovation, is this idea really novel? Is it something new? Is there added value compared to the existing solutions that we have? And also looking at the business model, right? Looking at the technical financial viability. Can it actually be sustainable over time, technically and financially? And impact. There are a lot of researchers in this room, right? But do we actually know, is it working? Like what the innovation is supposed to do, is it actually working? Do we have evidence for that? And the important thing is that, is it actually more inclusive, right? So that's another equity element that we made sure to include in the impact dimension. And scalability. So can it actually grow across different geographies, populations, and systems? And last but not least, risk. Can we identify risks early on, and can we mitigate them? So these 5 dimensions altogether, again, really guide you to look at what is important when it comes to scaling. So how is this actually applied? So in UNICEF, we look at innovation in 5 different distinct innovation stages, right? So ideation, pilot, acceleration, transition to scale, and scale. So these are the stages that we have. And what we have done is that using those 18 subdimensions, we've turned them into guiding questions and rubrics. So you can just go through, you can even go online now or sometime today or later this week. It takes maybe like 1 hour to go through that 5D web assessment tool that we have. You can answer the questions that we prepared to check your innovation against the 18 guiding questions, and there are like rubrics behind that, right? So you would have to decide where your innovation wants to be or where your innovation is, And there is different threshold for each innovation stage. So this is critical because it's important to do the right things at the right timing, right? So we can't expect every innovation to be completely scalable, figured out their business model very early on. So we are not requesting, like we're not asking a pilot program, for instance, to have like a perfect business model, as you can see, right? So this spider diagram shows different thresholds for different stages. And as you can see, the thresholds increase as you go. So this is really, really critical and very core to the 5D innovation framework. So this visualization becomes your trust signal. So when you go to that 5D web assessment tool again, once you go through that tool, once you set which maturity stage you want to be compared against, the assessment tool will give you this visualization where you are compared to the threshold that you should be or you want to go reach, right? All right, so, okay, so sorry, before that, oops. So before then, one thing to mention is that 5D Innovation Framework has been in use already in UNICEF for the last 3 years. We developed it in 3 years ago, and we've been using it in many different ways because the tool is versatile, right? So we've been using it to guide looking for the best promising solutions that we want to bring into our portfolio within UNICEF, or when we want to evaluate our innovation solutions in our portfolio on an annual basis. We use it for our portfolio management approach, and we also use it to guide every evidence activity that we do in UNICEF Office of Innovation to really generate evidence for all the ongoing innovative solutions that we invest in, right? And we've also, this was also peer reviewed by 10 different UN agencies and OECD, and it was officially also launched earlier this year. So now it's publicly available. So you can check out and see how you can potentially adopt the tools for your organization and any of your research work. All right, so great. So now we know what it takes to scale using the 5D innovation framework. So that tells us the what, and we know now what to look out for. So what about how? So how do we actually measure those dimensions and subdimensions that we talked about, right? So this is where the MEL Toolbox comes in. So from here, I'll hand over to my colleague, Shenshen.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. So about the how, when you hear M&E, probably a lot of you would think of it as a ticker box exercise requested by donors or mandated by donors, actually, and definitely not suited for innovation. The Innovation MEL Toolbox, the next is trying to shift this perception, definitely from merely proving to donors or to the public, to improving with actionable, accessible data, answering questions like what works, for whom, why, and under what circumstances. So we have this comprehensive compendium of methodologies and tools needed for evidence-based decision-making, iteration, and improvement. And as Luna said, it's suited for each innovation stage. Please, thank you. So we, with the help of 30 UNICEF colleagues, we developed or adapted methodologies and tools, as I said, for stage appropriate and innovation appropriate evidence approaches. So for example, if you look at the acceleration stage, which is the one that is after the pilot stage, which is usually ignored and not really emphasized in this process, it's actually about refining aspects to prepare for scaling, which is very, very crucial. We have what is called fidelity and adaptation monitoring checklist to figure out the aspects of innovation that needs to be adapted versus the ones that are perceived to be core elements and have to be maintained in order to have quality at scale. Another tool that in this stage that is really important is about financial viability, is what we call social return on investment, SROI tool to calculate projections for financial viability. And very important to emphasize a separate dedicated chapter on the systems innovation piece, because we believe that a single solution alone cannot tackle systemic challenges that we are facing nowadays. Next slide, please. Thank you. So you've heard about 5D as our strategic blueprint for what it takes to scale. And now you've heard also about the Innovation MEL Toolbox, which stands for monitoring, evaluation, and learning, and the learning aspects is very, very important, which serves as our evidence engine to show how to measure what actually matters. So with these, and by the way, these are global public goods that are available already on our website. We hope, so we hope that you can get out of that pilot trap that we showed you in the beginning, and then that a lot of you have experienced. So we invite you to think through whether it could be appropriate for you to select and compare different innovation solutions, or use these two tools, or mainly the 5D for portfolio management, and then the MEL Toolbox for evidence generation. We hope that these will help more and more innovation to scale, and for us, mainly to impact more and more children in the world. And by the way, I just want to emphasize that we have a parallel session this afternoon, and would like to invite you to actually have a more detailed discussion on the Innovation MEL Toolbox and scaling in general.